The first ever women's Jamaican bobsled team is participating in the Olympics, and there was an amazing moment at one of the press conferences where Jazmine Fenlator-Victorian said, among other things, "It's important to me that little girls and boys see someone that looks like them, talks like them, has the same culture as them, has crazy curly hair and wears it natural, has brown skin included in different things in the world." As saying, yes, essentially you can dream it, but until you see it, it isn't as real. So it was a very touching moment, and afterwards everybody started applauding. Thoughts, 5 words or less.
This conversation is so important. This Bobsleigher slayed this interview.
They all said it gracefully.
Yes, Kingston. Do you get it? Because it's yes, Queen, but you change it to King, and then Kingston, which is the capital of Jamaica.
Brett Erlich, wow. Yes, Kingston, yes.
Yes, Kingston.
I love jokes where you have to go, you get it?
Yeah.
And then you have to explain it. That's my favorite line for me. Do everybody understand?
Brett,
Can we break down these 5 words?
Brett's so insecure about his 5 words. We get it, Brett. We got you, man. We got you.
It made it funnier though.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, so the team is Jazmine and then Carrie Russell, not that Carrie Russell, and Audra Segre. And they're the first women's bobsleighing team. In 1988, the Jamaican men's bobsled team made history by becoming the country's first Winter Olympians. And I don't know if you guys saw Cool Runnings.
Yeah, John Candy.
I watched it probably 4 million times.
Great movie.
I had it on VHS with like the puffy case that they had back
Oh,
in the
yeah.
Yep. So
It took me a second.
yeah, what were your reaction to seeing this? Thoughts? What did you think?
I mean, I thought it was incredible. First of all, it brought me back to like who I thought was my like first idol, and I didn't really have somebody that looked like me. Like my first person that I was obsessed with was Avril Lavigne, which if you have like any sort of like wave in your hair or any sort of pigment, that's the opposite of like what you look like. And I wanted to be like her, so I like straightened my hair really, really straight. I tried to dress like her, and so just to have somebody who's in the Olympics, or even somebody that's on TV or doing things that that you know African Americans or minorities aren't usually seen doing is so powerful. And you know, I was there at one point, and I remember when I first saw Alicia Keys, and I was like, oh my gosh, like she kind of looks like me. She's not super skinny, and she's doing great things, and she's smart, and she's beautiful. I think sometimes people don't understand how powerful that is. And her speech was, or her interview was really striking to me. And I just love that she's using this platform to do more than just sports as well.
Yeah, you're right. I think because, I mean, some people feel I think me and you, Brooke, we talk about this a lot, that we're indirectly abused, and not in a sense like physically or violently, but we're told certain messages that stick with us. Like, you know, me and my brothers all went to high school together, and I remember a teacher telling me and my twin brother that we should drop out and get our GEDs because kids like us don't go far. And this is yeah, New Mexico. So things like that stick with you, and even though I was young and really didn't grasp the depth of what she was telling me, now that I'm older, how detrimental and how powerful words are. And for her, and it's just anyone, be it white, black, Chinese, of any walk of life, if you're told that you can't achieve at one point in your life. So to see someone who's actually doing it, and to add to that, these are women from Jamaica that are competing in a sport that is a winter sport. Jamaica for sure is not a place where there's snow ever. Maybe with global warming coming up, you never know. But they're defying the odds yet again. So I think more and more of these messages need to be seen, in addition to more positivity in fashion, more positivity in just all walks of life, because that's needed now, especially in the political and cultural climate we live in.
Yeah. I had to watch a bunch of like Oscar acceptance speeches for this special that we shot, and all the firsts of anything, like you watch like Hattie McDaniel's speech accepting her Oscar she was the first ever African American person to win an Oscar, and that was in 1939. The next one didn't happen until Sidney Poitier, like 35 years later, and then again until the one year when it was like Denzel and Halle Berry, and then Sidney Poitier got another one in like 2000 and whatever. All of them make me cry, and I'm like such a white person, and I just like that the feeling in the room of the entire dynamic of watching everyone react, and like the pride and the just inclusion. I love it. Catherine Bigelow, when she became the first female to win a director's Oscar, I was just like, it's amazing. I don't know why I'm crying, but I just am. Wow, it's amazing.
You said like, I'm sorry, did I cut you?
No, go ahead.
No, I was like, wait, sorry. You said powerful, and I think that's the best word for this. It's so important. Me growing up, we still rarely see it now, like a really dark-skinned black woman, and it's not always what you are told. The message comes heavy in what you don't see and what you're not told, and it's hard to like grow up being like a dark-skinned like black woman, and you're never seen. At least my childhood, never like see, besides Naomi Campbell, that was my like awakening, like, you know what I mean? Like, but like never seen in this role where you're seen as the pretty girl or you're this, and every time you go out, you're told like, oh, you're so pretty for a dark-skinned girl, or I don't know, I could have millions if I got $1 for every time that's been said to me, but like positive representation, it changes perception, and it changes self-esteem. I mean, I think I have so many African friends who have said this exact same sentence, that like, they were called African booty scratcher when they were in like elementary school growing up. And it's like a common like put down for African kids, because like African immigrants and kids who, you know, their skin is darker and they speak differently, their name sounds different. And Black Panther, the kids now growing up, like the kids around them are gonna see people who look like them, and Africa as power and cool, and it takes things like that. And I think now, like when I was growing up, being able to be president, it was something that, you know, your parents told you because they loved you, but you didn't really believe it. And now if you're a young black kid and you're 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, this happened in your lifetime. And so much so that it's normal to you.
Right.
It's still a shock for me that we saw a black, it's still a shock for me. But there are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds who this is normal.
Which
it's
like that's a beautiful
normal.
thing,
though. Yeah, and it's because, you know, the first time something happens in representation, it matters. It changes everything.
It does. I think one of the things just in the industry, I think that because, you know, black diversity is cool now. Diversity is a moneymaker now. I fear that when it's not trendy, when it's not the cool thing, where does it leave us? And are we regressing? Are we saying that, okay, well that was a trend now, so you're other again? And I think that what will combat that is just more and more and more and more and more until it's normal. Because even though I agree with you, Brooke, my grandmother, and my grandmother was like, in my lifetime before she died, I've seen the invention of everything wonderful and cool. But for you guys, as you just said, you've grown up with this. So I hope that 20 years from now, it's not about Brett, you're white, you're biracial, you're black, I'm biracial, I'm Honduran and black. It's just we're just all people, and I hope, and my fear is that won't happen though, you know, and it's sad that I have to fear that. You know, am I making sense with that? Am I crazy?
You're absolutely making sense with that.